The Silk Road was never about silk. It was about controlling the flow of money. Rome paid in gold. China paid in silk. And between them stretched 4,000 miles of caravans. The empires that controlled it, the Parthians, the Sassanids, the Kushans, didn't get rich by building or farming. They got rich by standing in the middle. Every caravan paid a toll. Every transaction left a tax. It was the world's first globalized supply chain, and it printed money for anyone who stood on the route. But here is the catch, these empires weren't trading goods. They were trading dependency. Rome became addicted to silk, not as a luxury, but as a status currency that drained its treasury. The historian Pliny the Elder estimated Rome lost 100 million sesterces annually to Eastern trade. That's a structural trade deficit. Gold was flowing out, and nothing solid was flowing in. China became equally dependent on Roman gold. Two powerful civilizations had chained their economies to one fragile thread. And the wealth didn't sit in Rome or China. It sat in the desert cities in between, Palmyra, Samarkand, Merv. These cities existed for one reason, they were the connectors. And that is where the trap was hidden. Think about these cities. They produced nothing. No farmland. No industry. Their entire existence depended on caravans choosing to pass through them. They weren't economies. They were bottlenecks. An economy built on a bottleneck has a fatal weakness, no backup. When your entire national income depends on one route staying open, you aren't an empire. You're a hostage. One blocked pass, one hostile neighbor, one shift in the map, and your revenue vanishes overnight. The rulers ignored this for 300 years because the money never stopped. That belief was the most expensive mistake in the ancient world. Palmyra. Look at Palmyra. In the 3rd century, it was one of the wealthiest places on earth. Its merchants were so rich they funded private armies. Its queen, Zenobia, challenged Rome itself. But Palmyra produced nothing. Its fortune was transit revenue, a tax on movement. When Rome crushed Zenobia's revolt and the trade routes shifted, Palmyra had no second act. The city didn't slowly decline. It collapsed within a generation. The same wealth that made it untouchable made it disposable. This is the pattern. It repeats everywhere. Then, the flow stopped. It was a perfect storm. Plague swept the caravan routes. Political fragmentation broke the chain of safe passage. And then came the quietest killer, the sea. Ships grew larger, merchants could carry more cargo, faster and cheaper by water. The land route became obsolete. For empires built on tolls, this was a death sentence. Their fiscal structure was built on transit revenue, money earned by standing in the middle. When the caravans stopped, the treasuries emptied. They had no manufacturing, no diversification. Just an empty road. The cities didn't fall in battle. They starved. The ledger balanced. The Silk Road didn't die from invasion. It died from a structural flaw in its accounts. It was an economy with no resilience. Total specialization, zero diversification, and complete dependence on a single point of failure. The empires optimized for efficiency and ignored survival. The iron law of economics, a system that is perfectly efficient is also perfectly fragile. Every ounce of redundancy they removed to maximize profit was a layer of protection they desperately needed when the shock came. History proves, when a system becomes too rigid and dependent on a single point of failure, collapse stops being a possibility. It becomes a mathematical certainty. The empires that built the Silk Road thought they had created something permanent. What they built was a beautiful, profitable trap, and they were standing inside it. Every week, Economy Ledger breaks down the economic forces behind the rise and fall of civilizations. If you want to understand the patterns history rarely mentions, subscribe to Economy Ledger. Economy Ledger breaks down the economic forces behind the rise and fall of civilizations. If you want to understand the patterns history rarely mentions, subscribe.